Police in Southern California say the suspect in a deadly mass shooting in Monterey Park is now dead. The Los Angeles County Sheriff says 72-year-old Hugh Contran died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound and was found inside a cargo van after a standoff with police. Well, he's accused of opening fire at a dance studio Saturday night, killing 10 people and injuring 10 others amid Lunar New Year celebrations. After that shooting, the sheriff says he went to another gathering nearby.
The suspect went to the Alhambra location after he conducted the shooting, and he was disarmed by two community members who I consider to be heroes because they saved lives. This could have been much worse.
And it was that seized weapon that allowed police to identify him. And we're learning evidence in the van used by the suspect have linked him to the location of the mass shooting. The chief of police in Monterey Park described what officers on the scene encountered Saturday night.
The first officers on scene were some of my youngest officers. They'd only been on the street for a very short period of time. When they came into the parking lot, it was chaos. There were wounded people. There were people trying to flee out all the doors. They immediately went into action, and within just a couple minutes, those officers had entered the location looking for the suspect. That's our protocols here. We don't wait. Inside, they came across a scene that none of them had been prepared for. So there were injured people inside, there were dead people inside, and my young officers did their job, searched for a suspect, and then came back and had to deal with the carnage that was inside. And it was extensive.
While police say 7 people who survived the shooting remain hospitalized. Now, the community of Monterey Park is grappling with becoming the latest city to be shaken by a deadly mass shooting.
This is a community where my kids took art lessons. We come down here for food all the time. We see elders walking around all the time. This has been a safe neighborhood for them to walk around and have community, historic Taiwanese Chinese community. So to see this happen in this place is shattering.
Well, the sheriff says the investigation is ongoing as police work to determine a motive for the tragic event. CNN's Natasha Chen has more from Monterey Park.
On Sunday evening, on Lunar New Year, when this community was supposed to be celebrating, law enforcement gave a press conference confirming that a man they had cornered in a white van in Torrance, California, was in fact the shooter of this Monterey Park scene just a couple of blocks away from us, where on Saturday night he opened fire, police said, killing 10 people. And almost 24 hours later, still 7 people are in the hospital. Now, we understand that the ages of the victims range in the 50s, 60s, and beyond. The coroner's office began to take away remains on Sunday afternoon, and they're still in the process of identifying the people who died. Now, it took about 12 hours for police to find this person in Torrance, about 30 miles southwest of Monterey Park. This after police say that he had gone from this dance hall in Monterey Park to a different one in Alhambra, a city north of where we are. That's where law enforcement says that a person matching the same suspect description went in armed, and that a couple of people actually wrestled with him, tackled him, and they were able to recover the weapon that he had. And that's how police were able to also recover that weapon and begin to trace who this person might be. Now, this community is still reeling and stunned after this mass shooting happened just after the first day of the city of Monterey Park's huge Lunar New Year festival that had more than 100,000 people on these streets. And many of the people speaking at the press conference, local leaders, were at those festivities just a couple of hours before this tragedy. They have reassured the community that they are now safe, that the person that police say died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound when police cornered him in Torrance, that person is no longer with us, as they put it, and that there is no longer a threat to the community. and this is indeed a huge blow to a predominantly Asian community in Monterey Park here. Again, about to celebrate the Lunar New Year, supposedly a time for joy, for health and prosperity, instead having to mourn the loss of their neighbors and loved ones. Natasha Chen, CNN, Monterey Park, California.
U.S. President Joe Biden has ordered flags at the White House and other federal buildings in Washington to fly at half-staff until sunset on Thursday out of respect for the shooting victims. The president called it a senseless attack and pledged federal support for California authorities investigating the incident. While in Florida, Vice President Kamala Harris also addressed the tragedy.
A time of a cultural celebration. And yet another community has been torn apart by senseless gun violence. So Doug and I joined the President and Dr. Biden, and I know everyone here, in mourning for those who were killed, as we pray for those who were injured, and as we grieve for those many people whose lives are forever changed.
And we're also hearing reaction from Stop AAPI Hate, an organization that aims to address anti-Asian hate and racism across the United States. In a statement following the shooting, it said, quote, "Our community has faced so much tragedy and trauma over the last several years. This tremendous act of violence on one of the most important days of the year for many Asian Americans at a place where Asian American families come to gather and celebrate is sending shockwaves through our community." Well, for more now, I'm joined by Juliette Kayyem, a CNN U.S. national security analyst and former assistant secretary for intergovernmental affairs at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So good to have you with us, Juliette. A celebration that unfortunately turned into a nightmare. The victims of the rampage are believed to be in their 50s and 60s. The gunman described as a 72-year-old and a regular patron at the dance hall. What do all these details tell you?
It's interesting when we started to hear these details. The fact he is Asian, he had frequented this facility. He matched the age of the victims, who are older. This is not a club that we might think of, a club like 20 and 30-year-olds. This is more of a social club. That he has some relationship or connection to someone there, whether through a relationship or employment. Because we just don't see victims like this in terms of their age on a Saturday night in a mass shooting in the U.S., but as well as the age of the assailant. He is older than most mass shootings in the United States are perpetuated by younger men.
Now, officials have not confirmed a motive yet. It's too early, but do believe the gunman tried to carry out a second attack.
Yes, exactly in the same vicinity. So this is a rampage in which the reason why he's chosen these places may not be for a legally recognized hate crime. In other words, targeted against a race or ethnicity. On the other hand, the perception of what happened for the Asian American and other communities in the area was, as we've been reporting, sort of as a victimized community. This is a community that has faced harassment and targeting over the last couple of years here, one that is often questioned out loud, as we saw in that statement, about whether they go out. And remember, the Lunar New Year celebration is a celebration that sets the tone for the rest of the year. That's what it's about. That's why there's parties and festivities and family. After COVID, this was the first very large public gathering. So the community is perceiving this, rightfully so, I think, as an attack on them, even if the motivation wasn't anti-Asian American.
And we understand that the murder weapon has been described as some sort of assault pistol.
It's a designation. It was, I have to admit, in the press conference, it was a little bit vague. It may be that they're still studying the gun. We do pistols just describes essentially the length of the gun. There are ways in which both the capacity and the speed of the bullets and the magazine's capacity can turn these into essentially semi-automatic weapons, even though they are designated as pistols. It's a very, very contentious issue, but obviously here in the United States. So I believe, even though he was vague as to the specifics of what kind of gun, he was implying that while it was not the typical semi-automatic weapons that we see in the United States, an AR or something like that, that it killed people very quickly, and that's shown in the evidence. When you look at the time frame for what happened on Saturday night, the police receive a phone call. They are in the room within about 2.5 minutes, right? That's a very quick response time, and the ability to shoot over 20 people and kill 10 of them is something that you would expect essentially a weapon of mass destruction to do.